Hello, world, and welcome to another exciting edition of the program, Ashford, Garley Live on British Radio Africa. First off, as always, we want to say thanks to our Almighty God. Father, we are grateful to you. Blessed be your holy name forever. You've given us breath. You've given us life. And you've given us divine strength just to be here tonight. In the name of Jesus, we have prayed. Some heard the name, some heard people talk about him, but you've gotten the opportunity tonight to match the face to the voice. Some call him Doctor of Love, the Mastermind, the Golden Voice of Liberia, Africa's media doobie-doo extraordinary, the Broadcast Commissioner, the Medicine of the Microphone. Ashford the Giant, and now you know me, Garley. Welcome. Well, tonight we play host to a presidential hopeful in the upcoming 2023 general and presidential elections. The name is Dr. Clarence MONIBA. Let me first give you the gist of who Dr. MONIBA is before we bring him on. Dr. Clarence MONIBA spent 2 decades overseas where he obtained his education and started his professional career. He returned to Liberia in 2012 and in 2014 began working for the government of Liberia. By the end of the administration, he had become the youngest person in the country's history to be named Minister of State without portfolio, chairman of the board of the Liberia Electricity Corporation, and the principal advisor and project manager to the former president, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. He was a leading figure on major investment and infrastructure developments from 2014 to 2018, while leading the nation's diaspora unit, the philanthropy secretariat, and the president's delivery unit. His previous roles include working with the African Development Bank's high-level panel on post-conflict and fragile states, as well as the United Nations post-2015 development agenda. He received his first master's in government and his second from Harvard University's Kennedy School with a master in public administration. He also has a PhD in rhetoric and professional communications from New Mexico State University. Having served as the youngest member of the previous administration's cabinet, where he oversaw the implementation of hundreds of millions of dollars in national infrastructure projects, while also helping to secure hundreds of millions of dollars in bilateral and multilateral aid. He has played a major role in some of the most consequential projects in Liberia's recent history, to include the Mankofe Hydro Power Plant, Railway to Banka Highway, the Roberts International Airport New Terminal Building, the Wet Plains Water Facility, and the negotiations of the first phase of the Lofa Road. Several other national projects in agriculture, technical and vocational training, and healthcare have also been initiatives implemented by Dr. MONIBA alongside his government colleagues under the administration of President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Dr. MONIBA has also served on several internationally recognized boards, which include the Carey International Global Advisory Board and also the board member of the Population Institute, all based in the United States, which has operations and outreach in over 30 countries. In 2018, the government of Liberia awarded Dr. MONIBA with the Knight Commander of the Most Vulnerable Order of Pioneers for his outstanding and distinguished service in government. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we introduce tonight our special guest, Dr. Clarence K. MONIBA. Doc, hello and welcome to Bridge Radio.
Hey, thank you. Very happy to be here. And let me admit something. When you talked about all your 7 or 8 names and titles that you see, I seriously got scared, my man. How are you?
I'm better than good, man. To God be the glory.
Excellent.
How is Liberia?
No, Liberia is good. Of course, it's 1 a.m. here, and but what we're trying to do and what we have involved ourselves in. There's no time to rest right now. So, but Liberia is good. Everybody knows the struggles that's in this country, the life that a lot of people are living. So, that's why we are putting ourselves out there to be able to be that change, hopefully that Liberia needs right now. And, I always tell people, become the change you want to see in our country. And that's what we're working on right now. So, Liberia is good, but it could be a lot better.
Well, tell us about your political party that you represent.
This political party, normally in Liberia, it's called Liberia National Union, or LINU. And it was actually started by my father, the former vice president of Liberia, Dr. Harry MONIBA. It was actually started 30 years ago. So we are one of the oldest parties in the country. But yet, we know how everything is in Liberia. If you don't take state power, which, they haven't been fortunate enough to have done so far, you don't really rise up to that national level. And also, over the last 2 to 3 terms, presidential terms, they have not put up a standard bearer. And so that's why, the name is we're building the name. There's a lot of momentum. And so that's where we are right now. We are actually on 16th Street. It's been the national headquarters for, like I said, 30 years almost. And so very happy to be representing them, very happy to be leading a new party in the sense of bringing it to the Liberian minds and consciousness. But yeah, we feel good about where we are. And we have some very good people on the party, some very strong believers that we need a new Liberia in this country. And so that's where we are right now.
What is wrong with Liberia that warrants your decision to run for the presidency?
I wouldn't say anything is wrong with Liberia. I would say that Liberia, we're not reaching our full potential. A lot of times in Liberia, we talk about, the old days or normal days, but let's be very honest, normal days wasn't even good enough as well. There was still a lot of people who were going to school sitting down on the dirt floor, or there were still people who were hungry. There wasn't enough development and paved roads. So so I won't say nothing's wrong with Liberia in the sense of what we have to do now is to make Liberia reach its full potential. And for me, and I say it, and when I say it, sometimes people think I'm just being political. But I truly feel like Liberia is the greatest country, or at least one of the greatest countries in Africa. We just have to prove it. And the only way we can prove it is by building having some of the best public schools in Africa, by having some of the best hospital facilities in Africa and the best trained doctors, and having some of the best roads in Africa. And so that's why I'm running for president, to be able to have the Liberian people understand that we have a great country. We have the talent, we have the resources in this country. We just have to live up to our full potential. And that's why I'm running for president, so that every single person in Liberia, normally a lot of times, and you've heard it before, that my time to enjoy, or that his time to enjoy. Liberia is a country where it should be everybody's time to enjoy. We only have 5 million people in this country. So, and the amount of resources we have, the type of weather we have, the beaches, the talent, it should be everybody's time to enjoy. And so I'm running for president so that everybody, all the 5 million people can benefit, can have a better life, can have a better future in this country.
Somebody just joining the program who may not have heard or introduced you want to know, what have you done or contributed to Liberia personally or professionally?
Mhm. Well, a lot of times, and I always start off by saying that, in Liberia, people get popular by two major ways people get popular in this country. One, you steal plenty of government money. You steal plenty of government money in this country, everybody would know you. The second way, you come on radio, you come on, television shows such as this, you cuss plenty. You do the mock cuss, you do the podcast. People will say, yeah, that man, everybody know that man. But, I've been, since 2004, which is the year that my father died in a car accident, I have committed my entire life to Liberia. And so, since then, I won't go through the long detail. But, when you say what I've done for Liberia, I started my career in working public service for Liberia in 2007, where I began working for the Liberian Embassy in Washington, D.C. I went on to the United Nations, our United Nations office in New York. I've also worked for the high-level panel, the 2015 Post-Development Agenda. I've worked for the African Development Bank's Post-Fragile States. And then I've also worked as the consultant for the World Bank. But in Liberia specifically, I'm very proud to say I was the youngest minister of state with a portfolio in Liberia's history. I was the youngest chairman of LEC in Liberia's history. And I was also the youngest person to oversee infrastructure development in the country. So when you talk about specific projects, I'm proud to say, of course, I worked with some very good government colleagues in the previous administration, but I'm proud to say that I was part of the negotiation team that brought in the $250 million that completed Mount Coffee Hydro. I oversaw, the White Plains Water Facility plant. I helped to negotiate the $50 million that was brought to build the terminal. My office helped to, when I was head of the present delivery unit, we helped to oversee the red light to Banga to Kanta road. The ELWA road that's currently being constructed right now, I helped to identify and source the $15 million from the World Bank to be able to do so. The Somalia Drive, or what we call Japanese Highway Road right now, I helped to oversee that implementation of that. So there's so many different projects, from agriculture to education and TVET projects. When you look at MVTC, help the rehabilitation of that. But the issue and the challenge I'm having now is that, again, if in Liberia, normally the bad rises and the good stays down. So we've been working in this country. We've been contributing to the development of this country. Again, I'm proud to say that, from 2014 to 2018, I played major roles in most of the most consequential projects that's in this country, especially from an infrastructure development standpoint. The records are there. Even that CLSG line that was just dedicated a few months ago in December by this government. I'm proud to say I was the chairman of LEC, when we finalized the negotiations for that, which brings in electricity from Cote d'Ivoire, Sierra Leone, and Guinea into Liberia. Helping to negotiate with the World Bank on that. So, I'm very proud of the work I've done. I don't think anybody will be able to know me and see my history and understand the contribution I've made to Liberia to say that, I haven't contributed to where we are in Liberia right now. But the most important reason for why I'm running for president is because even though I feel like I have contributed to Liberia's success so far, we have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to go. We have a lot of work to do. And so I look at my career right now as just starting. My contribution to Liberia is just starting.
You said October 10th, 2023 will be a primary, meaning there'll be a second round.
Absolutely.
So have you been reached out to? Have you considered collaboration with other political parties? If so, will you be willing to go second?
Honestly, I've had plenty of conversations, in Liberia, and politics is very fluid. I've had several conversations. I've been asked several times to be, other people's running mate so far. And because they assume that, I'm 43 years old, the man is young, he can come second. Somebody called me, but at the end of the day, we are willing to collaborate with anybody who puts Liberia first. That's our mission. That's the reason why we're running for president. But in terms of coming second, to be honest with you, I feel like our vision, I feel like what our platform that we're trying to put out there, which I would love to talk about further, nobody has put that with the type of experience. Again, I'm 43 years old, but I think I'm one of the most experienced people running for president right now. Somebody who has the energy, the passion to be able to deliver what we have to do. I've been in Liberia. I've been working in Liberia. I understand Liberian systems. But more importantly, I understand the international system as well. I understand how to negotiate. And so these are qualities that I think, I present the best. So yes, I'm 43 years old, but I like and I want people to use that as an advantage, as a tool, as a weapon to be able to understand that my age, my youth, but my experience and my education is something that can't be replicated by any of the other candidates. And so that's why I feel best qualified to go into a quote unquote, as you said, as I've said before, a primary, because there's going to be a second round. The question is who's going to be in the second round to be able to be chosen by the Liberian people. And I feel like if enough Liberians know me, if enough Liberians see my history, they understand what I've been doing. They see my education status. They see my experience, my qualifications, my character. Most importantly, my vision. Once enough Liberians see all of these different things, I truly believe and feel like we are in position to make history in Liberia. And history, not just to win the presidential elections, history to be able to change this country.
You said you were frustrated when you listened to the president's Sona message a week or two or so ago about some of the things that he said. And what are some of those things? How are you frustrated?
Well, when I say frustrated, is because the president and this current administration has been in power for 5 years, and a lot of things that were discussed were things that the previous government worked on. And again, I talked about the CLSG line, the Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea electricity line that's coming into Liberia that was just dedicated in December. These are initiatives that were worked on for several years and just being implemented. He talked about the road fund, talking about building all of the community roads. This is an initiative that I'm proud to say I was on the negotiation team with the Millennium Challenge Corporation in 2015 and 2016 when we brought about this road fund. He talked about the ELWA road. That's something, again, I played a huge part in identifying the money that's going towards building the ELWA road to Coca-Cola Road. So he talked about initiatives. He talked about the Via Reservoir. That's something, again, as chairman of LEC and serving on the board of LEC, as we're trying to identify money. We found $12 million for the feasibility study with the World Bank when I was, serving on the board of LEC. So a lot of the infrastructure projects that he talked about are things that have already been done, that have already been put in place. So the frustration came about because it's been 5 years. We should be talking about new projects. And so the one major project, that I know for a fact, even though our government talked about, but we didn't source the money, is the RIA road, going from ELWA Junction all the way to the airport. But when you go there, and for people who are living in Liberia, they know it. It's a death trap at night. I mean, it's so dangerous. I don't even see how we are letting that happen. It's also over budgeted. It's poorly planned, and it's being poorly implemented. So the frustration came about to hear, the current president talking about projects that were initiated in 2015, 2016, 2017, when we are in 2023. So a lot of times people ask me, why am I running now? And it's simple, because Liberia needs development now, and we cannot continue to pave 20 miles per year and think we are making progress in this country.
But did you take into consideration that some of these projects are still being talked about because in 2019 and 2020, the whole world was shut down? So
well, okay. So let me go to that point. So you're absolutely right. I took that into consideration. But the Lofa Road, the first phase of the Lofa Road, they broke ground in 2017. It should have been completed in 2020, before COVID. You talk about that ELWA to Coca-Cola Road, that should have been completed in 2019. So yes, I took into consideration COVID, but then I also took into consideration what we have planned, the mechanisms we have put in place. These are roads, these are projects where the money and the funding was already sourced. So it's not like they had to look for money. It's not like COVID stopped the development from happening. These are projects that should have been completed by 2020, 2019. Even the CLSG should have been completed at the end of 2020. So maybe you can, put that to COVID. But more importantly, not only should we be talking about those projects, it should have been a list of new infrastructure projects in the country. He should have been saying by now, we are building a modern referral international hospital in Grand Bassa. We should have been talking about sourcing funding for a modern and international hospital in Lofa. He should be saying, and we should be saying right now, that JFK is one of the best hospitals in West Africa. We should be talking about Tapita Hospital in Nimba that is being sourced, and now we're taking equipment from Nimba and bringing it to JFK, and Tapita Hospital is almost broken down. So that's where the frustration came from.
Let us talk about building relationships. The late President Samuel Doe's son, Sam Doe Jr., ran for senator in Grand Jide County because he didn't build relationship. He didn't go anywhere. The late Tomoko Youngba's son ran in Nimba. Again, not building relationship. Former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's son, Robert said her favorite son, ran as senator in Montserrat. Again, not building relationship. Are you your own man, or you going to go off of your father's name? Number two, you gave over 200 speeches at over 60 intellectual forums. You visited 10 counties out of the 15, but people in Liberia still have not heard about you.
The first thing is, I don't think that's true, because if nobody had heard about me, I wouldn't be on air right now. So, I think we are making progress. We are moving around the country. The message is very clear, but, this is something that's not going to happen overnight. But we are willing to commit to the process, again, of not, the goal we're doing is not doing this to win the presidential elections. We are running for president to change the country. And so that's why, it's 1 a.m. This is my fourth interview of the day. I've had several, I've had 6 or 7 other meetings, so we are working. I truly believe that once the Liberian people hear my message, they hear me talk, they hear my vision and platform for the country, I truly believe that we'll be victorious in October in elections this year. So yes, we have moved around. I've spoken to communities. I've spoken to women's groups, youth groups, and the message resonates. And the message is, again, we need a better Liberia. We need a new Liberia, and only Liberians can build and develop Liberia. And so we have to commit to it.
Why would President MONIBA do differently from this George Weah government?
I think everybody who becomes president, they decide what type of president they want to be. And so when you talk about us, with blessings from God, becoming president of this country, I'm very clear with people that we will be infrastructure oriented. Yes, we'll focus on a lot of other issues that is facing Liberia, but some of our goals, and I can talk about them now, when you look at agriculture, our goal and our vision and our promise to the Liberian people is that in the first 6 years, we must be self-sufficient in our staple food of rice. We must be. And so we'll do that by simply, we have 15 counties in this country. Every single county will be responsible to produce something so that we can have food security in this country. So even if we was to look at Lofa, Bong, Bapolu, Cape Mount, the western counties, and we tell them, y'all will be responsible to grow all of the rice that Liberia would need. Then we go to Nimba, we go to Grand Jide, we say, y'all will grow cocoa, y'all will grow cassava. We go to the southeast, y'all will grow bitter ball, y'all will grow pepper. We go to Bassa and tell them they will be doing cattle, having cows. And once we can identify what every single county will be responsible to contribute to Liberia, this is something we provide food security. So when you talk about what I will be focusing on, is that it will be making sure that Liberia is self-sufficient in rice. When you look at roads, I'm very clear with people as well. We do not have time to waste. We are in the 21st century, and yet 60% of the roads in this country are unpaved. One of our primary goals, food security is one, making sure that every single county capital in Liberia is connected by paved road, and it can happen. We need almost $3 billion of infrastructure development to pave all of the roads in this country. We will source that money, and all of the works will be ongoing by the time the first term is over. So I'm very clear about that. When you look at education, let me start off by saying this. Right now, we are graduating high school students in Liberia right now who can barely read and write. Let's be very honest with ourselves. We are graduating high school students in Liberia who can barely read and write. So as a result, we have to start to focus more on technical and vocational training. And so when I say that, immediately when we take over as president of this country, we will ensure that everybody who graduates from high school has 2 years of technical or vocational training, whether it's in carpentry, masonry, electrical work, plumbing work, catering, something. But your junior and senior year, yes, you'll be going to school, but you'll also be learning the skills. So when you graduate from high school, you have something to not only empower yourself, but to also help build the country. You look at healthcare, Anyway, I know, but these are some of the platforms when you ask the question what we would do. These are some of the things we are very clear and single focus on how and what Liberia needs to be developed. I can talk about healthcare as well. I can talk about the military, but these are things when you talk about, why I'm running for president. It's because Liberia needs development and we need it now.
Well, folks, if you're just joining us, this is Ashford Garley Live, and tonight we have with us as special guest, presidential hopeful, Dr. Clarence K. MONIBA. And he's telling us about his bid for the presidency of the Republic of Liberia. Let us talk about your international contacts. The president now said he has international contact, and go on his 6 year now, we have not seen any international investment. I'm told you have a lot of international contacts. You care to share with us and how your contacts will help you develop Liberia?
Again, I've been blessed, my whole life. I will continue to say it. I've had challenges in life. Sometimes when people see me, they say, "Oh, your power with vice president, you must have enjoyed all your life." Or when I tell people that I lived in America for 20 years, they automatically assume it was, perfect. But, I'm proud to tell people I was in America. Sometimes I was homeless. When I say homeless, I didn't have some nights I didn't have place to sleep or food to eat. But I've been blessed. I've been able to have academic and athletic scholarships. I've gone to some of the best schools in the world. One of them, which is Harvard University, where, for me, fortunately, I was voted by my classmates most likely to become president. So I hope those Harvard people are right. But I've been able to build, I've been able to build some great contacts, through my schooling, through my education, my 2 masters and my PhD. I've been able to have real contact. So it's not, oh, hello people, but people I've gone to school with. These people are now chief of staff to presidents around the world. These people are now ambassadors, ambassadors for the United States to different countries, ambassadors for Colombia and, so I've been able to build throughout the years some great contacts. But as I worked in government, one thing that I was proud enough to have been doing when I worked for the Liberian government is that I was typically the host of several presidents when they would visit Liberia. So, for example, if the Ghanaian president comes to Liberia for 2 days, there's going to be a cabinet member who rides in the car with them, who stays at the hotel with them, who has breakfast, lunch, and dinner with them. There's always a cabinet member assigned to them. I'm very happy to say that I've been able to do that with several presidents. So we were able to build relationships, that was outside of just the handshake picture. We were able to have breakfast. I know several presidents now, on a first name basis. Of course, with respect, but I know several presidents, foreign ministers, ambassadors. And so it's one thing to have international contacts, but I think it's more important to have the right international contacts. And the right international contacts are people who will be able to bring investment and development to the country. People who will be able to allow Liberia to go and borrow the $2 billion that we need to start to build all of our roads immediately. These are the international contacts that we need in this country.
Tiawan Gonglo, Alexander Cummins, Joseph Walker. These are gentlemen with impeccable credentials. What professionally or externally separates you from them?
Well, I'm also an individual who has, great character and great history, so I'm very proud of that. Like I've said before, and I will continue to say it because I'm very proud. But I've helped to negotiate hundreds of millions of dollars for Liberia. I've helped to oversee, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, almost up to $1 billion of project development in this country. And never once will you ever hear the name Dr. Clarence MONIBA stole. Dr. Clarence MONIBA took any kickback. Dr. Clarence MONIBA asked for anything. So yes, there are individuals with great character. I would never, my job isn't to talk bad, negative about anybody else, but I just know what I have done. And I know for a fact that, I've been tested. I have the experience. I have the character, and I have the ability to continue to negotiate deals for Liberia. I have the ability to be a new face in Liberia for a new Liberia. And so, I'm very proud to put my record, my character, my vision, my history, my work qualifications. Some people, they may have good character, but may not have worked in government. Other people may have worked in government, but not necessarily in the infrastructure standpoint or negotiating on behalf of government. But I think I possess all of these characteristics. Again, God has blessed me, highly educated. God has also blessed me to be highly experienced, with the qualification that's needed to lead a country, and then with the vision as well. So I'm proud to put my resume up with anybody who's running. Those are people who also love Liberia. But I just think at this moment, at this time in Liberia's history, we need somebody who's young, who's energetic, who's educated, who's qualified with a vision. And that's what I present.
What the TRC is a significant blueprint for justice, reconciliation, and rule of law. What is your position as an individual and as a party on the TRC?
So, when you're talking about the War and Economic Crimes Court, right? I take it. There's nobody in Liberia, especially somebody like me, who would not say we need to hold people accountable. Accountable for the hurt and pain that they've caused in Liberia, accountable for the lack of development that we've faced because of war crimes or, putting their interests before our country. But I think we also have to be very careful as we pursue War and Economic Crimes Court, is also we need to put the needs of the Liberian people first. And by this, I mean we have to be able to ensure that we are self-sufficient in our staple food of rice. We have to be able to ensure that no longer are our children going to school to sit on dirt floors or broken benches, that we are paying our teachers more than $75 a month while our lawmakers make $15,000 a month. We have to be able to ensure that our people are not going to the hospital with no drugs and no medicine and no trained nurses and doctors. So yes, we will prosecute people who break the Liberian law. We will go after people to hold people accountable. But I think just as important is our future of Liberia. I'm very forward looking. I'm 43, like I said, and my future is in Liberia. I don't have any investment outside of Liberia. All of my investment, all of my life is here in Liberia. So we have to be talking about the future of Liberia. And so we'll hold people accountable for past crimes, but more importantly, we'll also focus on the future of Liberia and how we can build our country.
What comes to mind when you hear people say he does not know anything about Liberian politics? What, in your view, is considered Liberian politics?
That's why I always laugh when people say that. So I'm assuming Liberian politics is brown people, brown envelope and Didiba deals, because I still don't know what Liberian politics is. What I do understand is empowerment. What I do understand is development. That's what I understand. So however people want to define what Liberian politics is, that's their business. I know I've been working in the country. I've been working for the country as far back as 2007 in the diplomatic field, in the trade and investment field, in practical being on the ground, developing projects. I've traveled the world negotiating projects for Liberia. So Liberian politics to me is development. And then the next thing I would say is that Liberian politics For the people who say I don't know Liberian politics, I simply ask them, look around Liberia. Liberian politics has given us the country that we have right now. Is that the Liberian politics you want to continue? So if that's the Liberian politics they want to continue, then yeah, they're right. I don't know about Liberian politics. Like I said before, what I do know about is development, empowerment, putting our nation first. So, for people who say that, it's people who look at my resume, they can't see any holes in it. They talk to me. There's no buts. There's no, oh, he's good, but so then the only thing they can come up to is, oh, the man young, or the man don't know Liberian politics. Even though, again, I've served at some of the highest levels in this country and successfully.
Okay, folks, if you're just joining us, this is Ashford Garley Live. We have with us tonight Dr. Clarence MONIBA. When we come back, we'll talk more about assets declaration. We'll also talk about corruption. In the meantime, we'll take a 2 minutes break and we'll be right back. That's right. We are back. And folks, if you just joining us, this is Ashford Garley Live on Brace Radio Africa. And we're coming your way from Lansdowne, PA. Okay. Now, earlier in the show, Dad, you said you were not running to win, but you're running to change the country. I don't know if that came out the right way.
No, what people, when I say we are not running just to win in elections, we have to be very clear and to understand this. Right now, we have President Weah. Before that was President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Before that was Taylor. Before that was President Doe and Talbot and Tubman. So presidents always come and go, but the one thing that remains the same is Liberia. So our efforts, our ability to run for presidency is not simply just to say, oh yeah, we're president. No, that's not good enough right now for the Liberian people. We are wanting to win the elections and to become president so that we can change the country. We are not just running so that when we become president, we say, oh yeah, we're president, we can relax. We are running to make history. And that history is to be part of the generation that changes the future of Liberia. You're on mute.
Sorry. Well, everyone is complaining about corruption in Liberia. Do you have plans to tackle or fight corruption?
And I love that question. And so I would turn the question back on you, Ashford. I will ask you a question. Who has gone to jail in Liberia over the last 5 years for corruption? And then we go further, 10 years, and then 15 years, and 20 years, and 30 years. Nobody goes to jail in Liberia, but yet we say we want corruption to stop. So how we can do, Liberian people, we had to hear, but we're very quick to learn. In Liberia, the minute people start going to jail in this country for corruption, for stealing the Liberian people's money, you will see corruption begin to slow down in this country. Right now in Liberia, you steal plenty of money. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, you can go and run for lawmaker and probably win. But then we say we want to fight corruption. In Liberia also, I'll give an example. Right now, if Rogue I won't say Zogo, well, but if Rogo and Steve steal from somebody right now, we will find that person's body in the middle of the road. We'll see that government body. But yet, and that's for stealing $50 phone. But yet, there will be government officials who steal hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. And what do we do in Liberia? We praise the person. We call it embezzlement, or we say that a man time to enjoy, and we make them father of the year, mother of the year. So we have to, if we're serious about fighting corruption, the first thing that we need to be able to do is to prosecute. If anybody is accused, they're suspended, you investigate them. You find them guilty or not. So even when you look at the three government officials that were sanctioned by the United States government, there's no hair or tail. We're just waiting. What is the Liberian government has to say about it? Are they doing an investigation? Have they found them guilty? Have they said they are not guilty? We have to be able to know this. If they are guilty, let them be prosecuted. Let them go to jail. Let them have restitution. Or are you trying to say, Liberian government, that they are not guilty, but tell us? So in efforts to fight corruption in this country, we have to be able to prosecute people. They go to jail and they pay restitution. We go to people's homes, we go to people's properties and sell those properties. Let that money go back to government coffers so that we can continue to build better schools, better hospitals in this country. People have to be held accountable and people have to pay restitution. Once we do that, corruption in Liberia will begin to at least be minimized.
Liberians are confused. Former Minister of National Defense, Mr. Brandon Samuka, was denied his senatorial seat after winning for misappropriation. Now, former Minister of State, Nathan McGill, was sanctioned by the U.S. government. He was suspended by President Weah, and reportedly he resigned. Now we are hearing he's being supported by President Weah on the hand to run for the Senate seat in Margibi. What is your take on that?
Well, it goes back to what I just said. Is there any investigations going on? Yeah, I haven't heard about anything. So we have to be accountable. And that's why, I'm running for president of this country. We have to be accountable. We have to set higher standards in this country. We have to decide what type of country we want in Liberia. And if we want a good country, a developed country, if we want a country that holds people accountable, then again, we cannot continue to allow people who are accused not to be investigated, and if found guilty, not to be prosecuted and sent to jail. So the question then goes back to President Weah. Where are we with the investigation of the three people who were accused and ended up having to resign? The president, their offices, whether it was working for the president, working at the ports, or Solicitor General. Where are we with that investigation?
You played a very major role during the administration of Mother Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And according to you, you lived in the United States for over 20 years. How many homes do you own outside of Liberia?
No, and I think, and I mentioned it earlier, I'm proud to say, Liberia is my home. I don't own one single property outside of Liberia. All of my investments are in Liberia. There's no homes, anywhere. When I come to America, I stay on my sister's couch or in her spare room, but I don't own any property outside of the country simply because, once again, our investment, our future is in Liberia. That's why it's so important that to understand that there are good Liberians in Liberia who want to see good for this country. There are good Liberians who want to build instead of break. And because of that, we good Liberians have to be in the country fighting the good fight, fighting to make sure people understand that you don't have to necessarily, stay in the United States. You don't have to, we can have a good home here in Liberia. And so we are fighting, we are here to ensure that we have a brighter future so that people can be more secure to come back home, to invest their money, to live in Liberia, to bring foreign direct investment in Liberia. So that's why we are here for.
43 years old, family life, wife, kids?
Yeah, I have a family. I'm very happy with the family I have. I have one son, and we have a big family. Of course, a lot of people also know the MONIBA name, and so I have two brothers and a sister, and so my family life has been a blessing for me, and I'm happy. I'm very happy where we are with them.
You care to tell us the name of our future First Lady?
No, her name is Leah. Her name is Leah, and so yeah, so Leah Pena.
Okay. Leah MONIBA, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, which former Liberian president do you admire and why?
When you say which former Liberian president,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
There's,
everybody has.
there's several of them, you know.
Say that again.
There's several of them. When we grew up, I mean, your father served in government before your
Mhm.
father, you know.
Mhm. When you look at past presidents, I think everybody played some type of role in Liberia. But I look at presidents. I thought Tolbert, was progressive in many ways. Dole as well. Brought really a lot of development to the country as well. I don't have any particular president, to be honest with you, where I can sit down and say, who I do regret, who never became president, is my father, Dr. Harry Moniba. And so when the reason I had kind of went back and forth thinking about that question is simply because he is somebody who I really wished could have taken the mantle of leadership in this country, because I know firsthand what he wanted for this country.
Where does your strength come from? Your motivation when you sit back and think about your late father, of which
Mhm.
you said tonight that you don't own homes outside of Liberia. Everything that you own is in Liberia. What keeps you
Mhm.
going when it comes to integrity, when it comes to being free of corruption? What keeps you going?
His legacy and his name. My father always used to tell me, I don't have money to leave you, but I will leave you a name and legacy that you'll be proud of. And so it's this name and it's this legacy that I'm trying to put forward. I'm trying to push forward. And so that's what keeps me going, to understand that there's something greater than myself that I'm running for. There's something greater than myself that I'm living for. And so, when you talk about, us moving forward as a country, we need people who understand that the legacy is more important than money. Legacy is more important than investments. And so that's where we are as a country.
How do you rate President Weah's performance as president?
I don't necessarily, I tell people I'm not a teacher, so I'm not necessarily going to grade him. What I do know and understand is that Liberia needs a lot more development in this country. We need to be self-sufficient in food, which I don't think we are, and we're not on that right path. We need better road development in this country. We are also not on that path. There's a lot of things that we need to be able to do in this country. And so I don't feel like we're on that path right now. If I thought we were, I would not be running for president. But I don't think we are. I think that Liberia needs innovation at the top of the leadership. I think Liberia needs the energy, the experience that I have in terms of negotiations and infrastructure development. And so it's all these reasons why I'm running for president. So um, I don't necessarily grade people, or grade this administration, but I do know that we need to do a lot better in our administration.
Become the change that you want to see in our country. What does that mean?
It means that every single person needs to take the responsibility to build our country. You cannot say you want to educate a country and don't educate yourself. You can't say you want a clean country and not clean your home and clean your community. And so I think it's because of that, when we say become the change, we cannot continue to sit down and wait for other people to fix Liberia for us. We all must take that responsibility to do so ourselves.
Well, we're almost out of time now, and I want to say a big thank you for taking the time of your busy schedule and coming on tonight. We have 12 more minutes to go. I don't know if it needs your consensus. You want to take one or two calls from the audience out
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's take some calls.
there? Well, folks, if you're just joining us, the number to call is 267. Hold on a second, pin the number up there. 267 248 5295. Okay. Number to call. Okay. There you go. The number to call is 267 is the number to call. Now, that if or when you become the winner, who would be your foreign minister and your finance minister?
To be honest with you, what I want to do is that we are going to really do this as a job application. We will, we are going to create panels. To be honest with you, I'm not going to sit there as president and say, "Oh, I'm picking you to be foreign minister. You come be my finance minister because we're friends." No, what I'm going to do is to create an interview panel to be able to bring, a panel together, and we'll have 3 names, and those people will present. I would tell them my vision for Liberia, and then they would tell me how they're going to implement it. So, for example, in agriculture ministry, for example, I would ask a simple question. I want to be self-sufficient in our staple food of rice in 6 years. Tell me how you're going to do it. And based on that, based on their background, based on their history, we would then start to select foreign ministers and finance ministers and agriculture ministers and public work ministers. And so, I think, we're too far right now from being able to say who would be in specific positions. But I can assure the Liberian people that it would be people of great character, great vision, of experience, of education, and love for country more than they love themselves.
Okay, let's go to the telephone line. Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts, hello. You're live on the radio.
Yes, hi. Mr. Garley, how are you?
I'm better than good. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Dad is listening to you. 1 minute, please.
Dr. MONIBA, welcome to First Radio Africa, and I'm great to hear your aspirations. I heard you state your resume, and you said that you worked in the government, past government. What was your role in fighting corruption, since that's been a rampant issue in our country? Again, I want to commend you for your aspirations. So how would you, and what did you do in your role as a statesman to fight corruption?
Thank you. Okay, Dad, just before you come in, let's take 2 more callers, and then we can wrap up. We have the 832 number. Hello, tell us your name.
Yeah, okay. My name is Andrew Scalo. I'm calling from Kentucky.
Okay. 1 minute, please.
Yeah, I love the gentleman, Dr. Volga. I have a couple of questions for him. I just wanted to ask you quick. What you would say about Joseph Walker, or what for him, what would be the age that people can stop running for president or retire from politics?
Thank you.
I didn't understand that fully, but I think you'll repeat that for me.
What would be the age where you would stop running for president or retire from politics? I think that's the question he asked, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the last caller is 614. Tell us your name.
Good evening, Mr. Garley, and
Yeah, go ahead.
good evening, Mr. Garley, and good evening, Doc.
Yeah, hello. Go ahead with
My name is Winner. Yeah, and I call to just advise the doctor. Yes, I admire him being very smart and whatever, but he's not married, and Liberia is not prepared for a married man. We need somebody that family oriented, and you can end it. I think that's good English, oriented and stuff, Doc. You're not married. When are you going to pay her diary? We the money people, we like that. Marry the poor daughter, and then you can go ahead with a career. You can go ahead and run to be senator, representative, then you go to president. But you're not married, my child. Married, Papa. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that was the last caller, and let's see if we can get that back from. You know, the data issue in Liberia. We're hoping that can come back pretty soon to wrap up this, and as he answers the 3 questions. In the meantime, folks, I'd like to say a big thank you to you. Let's see what we have here tonight. I see Stella Luna the Achivon. The man was not president while will he fight corruption. I see the Smith Dawier, and also see V Harden. Is marriage a prerequisite? Please, man, she says. Okay. Well, as we wrap up, can you just answer those 3 questions? one of them.
You know, yeah.
Retired from the presidency. And the last question was from a lady. Said, "Why are you not married? You need to marry people that are paid direct or something." You know. And go ahead.
You know, and so you know, the first thing is to talk about the you know the prosecution in terms of fighting corruption when I was in government. And so, you know, I'm very happy to say that we worked, you know, as Minister of State with our portfolio, we worked on a variety of different things. And, you know, one of the main things we were able to do was to help to put together a prosecution team, you know, here in the president's office, you know, that was able to try to go after corrupt officials. You know, we didn't have quite the full success that we wanted to, but I believe there were strides that were made. And so, you know, but I also tell people, you know, my role in the previous administration was to focus on infrastructure development, looking for money, but we need to expand that now. We all know that corruption is a challenge in Liberia, so we'll continue to fight that. The next question, you know, talked about the age to retire. You know, again, nobody can tell the future, and that's why sometimes when I talk to people and people say that, you know, oh, you're young, you have a long future ahead. You know, I laugh and say nobody knows the future. So, but what I do know is that I'm going to continue to contribute to the development of this country. I'm going to continue to work towards a better Liberia, a new Liberia. And so I'm very proud of the commitment I've made to this country. I'm very proud of the efforts I've been putting in over the history and the course of my life, and will continue to. So I don't think politics or something you can retire from. But I do think there's a certain point in life where you have done as much as you can, and you leave the stage for other people to come on stage. But I think, and I believe I'm just coming on stage. And so I have a lot of work to do to be able to continue to push this country forward. So I'm sorry, Ash, what was the last question?
The last question, why are you not married? What are you doing to...
So, you know, and I talked about, you know, the fact that, you know, I have somebody, you know, in my life, Leah, who I have my son with. We've been together for 18 years. And so, you know, and so, you know, I'm very happy of the relationship I have with her. And you know, like I said, I met her in college in 2005. And we've been together and we have one son together. So I'm very happy with the relationship that we have. And, you know, I don't know what else to say about that.
Well, that I want to take time out on behalf of Bridge Radio. You know, nobody goes to the presidency without crossing the bridge. And the fact that you made us stop at the bridge, we appreciate you so kindly.
I'm just very glad I didn't fall off of the bridge. So thank God for that.
You're welcome. We're hoping this is not going to be your last time here. And
no, absolutely not.
Thank you so much. And our greetings to the rest of the folks on the grounds in Liberia.
Thank you. I look forward to you coming on ground.
That's right. Any final comment before we take leave of you?
No, just, you know, thank you very much for having me on. You know, I look forward to spreading our message across and letting people know and understand that Liberia will be a great country one day. And we have that responsibility to make it great. So thank you, and God bless Liberia.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, folks, that's all the time we have to be with you tonight. God willing, we will be back Friday with a very powerful political soccer game where the Lone Star of Liberia will go against societal ills. I'm pretty sure you have the two new players coming on the field, Pastor Johnson and Pastor Weir. Pastor Weir is accusing Pastor Johnson of being a murderer. Pastor Johnson is, on the other hand, accusing Pastor Weir of being a murderer. So I'm telling you, the football game on Friday night will be very interesting. Until then, folks, Father God, want to give you praise. Thank you for supernatural divine strength for us to be here tonight. Until then, folks, this has been yours truly, the mastermind, the doctor of love, the golden voice of Liberia, Africa's media doobie-doo extraordinaire, the brother who doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. The broadcast commissioner, the medicine of the microphone. Ashford the giant, the now you know me Garley. Have a good night.